This happened last summer. I was living in a small apartment near the city park. My building has one of those old creaky fire escapes that hangs over the alley. At about 2 a.m., I woke up to loud scratching noises. Thinking it was just the wind, I ignored it. Until I heard what I can only describe as the sound of tiny hands tapping on metal. I peeked out my window and saw 5 raccoons staring back at me, not running away, just staring. One of them was even holding a half-eaten slice of pizza like he was judging me. So I did what any normal, sane person would do. I threw a cracker out the window. They made a mad dash for it before, trotting off into the night. Now, normally, I don't really think much of wildlife unless they're actually trying to get inside my house. But something about their pizza-loving faces stuck with me. So when I went to bed that night, I left the window open just in case. When I woke up, I found a little pile of treasures on my fire escape, a granola bar wrapper, a beer bottle cap, and a singular neon pink shoelace. Nothing too crazy, but definitely an offering. And sure enough, when I opened the window, I could smell pizza on their breath. Soon, my nightly routine became throw out the window, watch them scamper up my fire escape, and nom, then run off into the darkness. Within 2 weeks, I had a nightly raccoon dinner service going. And they'd line up outside my window like they were at a food truck. I started bringing out larger quantities of food, mostly leftovers from takeout. Pizza, chicken nuggets, even a pastrami sandwich once. For the first few nights, there were usually about 5 or 6 raccoons at most. But by the end of July, that number swelled to 25. Yeah, I counted. They were getting bolder, too. A few of them weren't even afraid to snatch food right out of my hand. Here's where things get weird. One night I was enjoying some takeout sushi when I heard thud, thud, thud. I look outside to see not 1, not 2, but at least 15 raccoons gathered on my fire escape. To say I was shocked is an understatement. Was this normal raccoon behavior? Was there a secret society of garbage bandits living in my city park? Why were they leaving gifts on my balcony? Also, why did they bring a pizza-flavored air freshener? That was my first clue. These were no ordinary raccoons. This was a crew. A crew with a leader. A very smart leader. The next morning I found a large black wallet on my fire escape. Nothing but a business card inside. I looked up the number, which turned out to be for a local locksmith. But the name rang a bell. I remembered him from a few weeks prior when my front door handle was giving me trouble. He was the one who fixed it. I called him up, explained the situation, and he laughed. Ah, yeah, those guys. They love messing with people. I asked him if he knew how they got up my fire escape so quickly. They don't climb. They have a knack for picking locks. I hung up feeling both weirded out and kind of impressed. When I went to check on my balcony, I found a shiny silver spoon, an old house key, and a rubber duck. Another day, another gift basket. Then the incident. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Why doesn't he just close his window? Well, because of this next present. It was late July and the heat wave was in full force. One night I woke up to my window rattling. I peeked out to see the leader raccoon holding a GoPro in his mouth. He was screaming at my window along with 3 accomplices. The 4 of them proceeded to bang on my window for a good 5 minutes before running off into the night. The next morning, I found a bright orange box on my fire escape. I opened it to find a waterproof case containing a wet GoPro. I tried turning it on. The battery was dead. I checked online and found a similar model of the GoPro. It wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. So I wanted to do the right thing. Turns out the model had been discontinued years ago. I searched everywhere for a way to contact the owner, finally reaching out to GoPro directly. They connected me with their warranty department, who managed to track down the owner through the serial number. 2 days later, the police officers show up at my door holding a blurry still image. Pixelated but clearly showing a fire escape. A raccoon holding a camera. They started asking questions about any suspicious activity involving raccoons. Suspicious, the officer read off a list of items that had been stolen in the city park that summer. Possession of stolen property, he said, is a 3rd-degree felony. I panicked. Well, defined suspicious, They didn't find it funny. I ended up just telling them about the locksmith. And the gifts, they seemed skeptical but thanked me anyway. Later that week, I woke up to find a box on my fire escape. Inside, a gold pocket watch, 3 unopened cans of Red Bull, and a flash drive. Against my better judgment, I plugged the flash drive in. It was full of videos, all taken from a raccoon wearing a GoPro. There was footage of them breaking into trash cans, stealing hot dogs, and even riding on the back of a stray dog like it was a horse. And yeah, there was a clip of one of them standing on my windowsill, holding the camera, and slowly zooming in on me sleeping. At this point, I decided to stop feeding them. Big mistake. The next night, I woke up to find my entire balcony covered in raccoons. No exaggeration, I counted at least 25. They deformed a half circle around my window like they were staging an intervention. The leader pizza slice guy taps the glass with his stick, stares into my soul, and leaves me a single chicken nugget. I took it as a threat. 2 days later, the raccoons disappeared completely. No scratching, no tapping. Nothing. And then I saw a news article. Raccoon gang caught crossing into Canada via freight. Train, possible smuggling ring. The blurry photo shows the leader raccoon. Sometimes late at night, I hear scratching on the fire escape again. I never look.